Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something, well, pretty much everyone thinks about, building wealth. How do people actually become millionaires?
Right. It's a huge topic.
We've gathered insights from the research you sent over, focusing on the practical steps, the real pathways.
And our goal today is really to sift through that, find the core ideas.
Exactly. Cut through the noise, give you that shortcut to understanding wealth creation based on this material.
Yeah, move beyond the simple stuff. The sources you shared offer a much more nuanced view, I think.
Totally. And what really jumped out, and I think might surprise you listening, is how long it can take just by saving.
The conventional wisdom often overlooks some critical factors there.
Okay, so let's challenge that traditional saving idea right off the bat. The numbers are, well, they're something.
They really are.
Imagine earning $100,000 a year. Good salary.
Yep, solid income.
Now, if you saved every single penny, which, let's be honest, is basically impossible.
Right, nobody does that. Expenses, life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you did, the research says it would still take nearly 10 years to hit $1 million.
A decade of saving literally everything.
But here's the kicker. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Say you save 20%. That's $20,000 a year. Still really good saving.
Very respectable rate, yes.
How long does it take then, according to the material? 50 years.
50. Half a century.
Half a century. And, the sources also point out that often doesn't factor in inflation.
Precisely. So that $1 million in 50 years won't buy nearly as much. It makes the saving only path even tougher.
It really hammers home why just saving, while important, isn't the whole picture for building wealth faster.
It definitely raises that question, doesn't it? Why do some people seem to get there much, much quicker?
Yeah.
And the data is pretty clear. Most millionaires aren't just savers. They use other strategies.
Strategies that have more potential.
Exactly. Higher potential for accelerating wealth, though, and this is key, they also come with risks. You're putting money to work more dynamically.
Okay, so saving alone is the ultra-marathon route.
Pretty much.
What are these better ways the research highlights, the faster tracks?
Well, the first big one mentioned consistently in the material is starting a business.
Right. Starting your own thing. Sounds daunting, maybe.
It can be, absolutely. And the sources definitely acknowledge the risks involved, failure rates, long hours.
But it's still listed as one of the best ways.
Consistently, especially for building substantial wealth. And the sources note, particularly here in the U.S., it's relatively straightforward to actually get started, legally speaking.
Okay, so why is business ownership so powerful compared to just saving that salary? What's the mechanism?
The key concept, really, is equity. That's what the research highlights.
Equity. Owning a piece of it.
Exactly. You own an asset, the business itself, that can grow in value, potentially exponentially. It's not just linear growth like saving.
So you're building something that appreciates.
Precisely. Think about it. A successful business scales. Its value isn't just tied to the hours you put in, but to its market position, its profits, its potential. That equity stake can become worth far, far more than the salary you might draw.
That makes sense. The value can compound in a totally different way.
Yeah.
But like you said, risks. The sources are pretty upfront about the challenges, right?
Right.
It's not just about having a good idea.
Oh, absolutely. They're candid. It often means years of grinding, maybe putting in your own money, facing uncertainty. Equity value isn't guaranteed like a paycheck.
Right.
It depends entirely on the business succeeding. It takes resilience, a different mindset than just being an employee saving part of a wage. You're creating value, not just managing existing money.
Okay. So business ownership, powerful but demanding.
Yeah.
What if that feels like too big a leap or just not someone's interest? What's another major pathway the sources point to? Something maybe more tangible.
Yeah, the material definitely talks a lot about real estate.
Property.
Buying properties, maybe residential, maybe commercial, and renting them out.
So you get income from the rent.
Right, that's one side of it. Monthly income, potential cash flow.
And the other side.
The property value itself increasing over time. Capital appreciation. So your wealth grows on paper too.
But the sources add that little warning label, right? If done correctly.
Crucial point, yes. It's not automatic.
So what does doing it correctly involve, according to the research?
Well, it highlights things like understanding the market you're buying in, location, financing structures, managing tenants' upkeep. It's not passive, especially at first.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a distinction made between different strategies, like flipping houses versus long-term rentals, different risks, different rewards.
What about the mechanism here? You mentioned equity for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
What makes real estate work so well for wealth building in the sources?
A big factor highlighted is leverage.
Using borrowed money.
Exactly. You can control a large, valuable asset, the property, with a relatively small amount of your own money, the down payment.
So your potential return on your actual cash invested gets amplified.
Precisely. If the property value goes up, your percentage gain on your down payment can be quite large. Of course, leverage also amplifies risk if things go the other way.
Right. If the value drops, you still owe the bank the full amount.
Correct. And the sources also mention challenges like market downturns, making it hard to sell, unexpected vacancies, repairs. It requires a solid strategy and often significant capital or access to credit.
Okay, so business equity and real estate leverage. Both powerful, both require active involvement and managing risk. What about a third path? Maybe for someone who prefers things a bit more hands-off.
That's where the stock market comes in, according to the sources.
Investing in companies.
Right. Buying shares, becoming a part owner, essentially, but on a much smaller, more accessible scale than starting the whole business yourself.
And the idea is your investment grows if the company does well.
Generally, yes. Over the long term, the market has historically trended upwards, driven by economic growth and company profits. It's presented as a very solid way to grow money.
So what's the underlying engine here? What makes stocks work for wealth building over time, based on the research?
The big one is compound interest, or maybe better termed compound growth in this context.
Money making money.
Yes, but it's more than that simple phrase. The sources emphasize how reinvested earnings, dividends, or capital gains generate their own earnings. That's the snowball effect.
Ah, okay, so it accelerates.
It really does, especially over long periods. It's how relatively modest, consistent investments can grow into substantial sums. The key is time and letting that compounding process work.
And the sources mention something for people who find picking individual stocks may be intimidating or too time-consuming.
Yes, ETFs, exchange-traded funds.
Right. Heard of those.
Yeah.
How do they fit in?
Well, they're presented as a simpler way to get diversification. Instead of buying one or two stocks, an ETF might hold shares in hundreds or even thousands of companies.
So you're spreading the risk out automatically.
Exactly. You invest in a whole sector or the entire market with one purchase. It reduces the impact if one specific company doesn't do well. It's a more passive approach to capturing overall market returns.
Makes sense. But even with stocks or ETFs, the sources mention needing a working strategy, right? It's not just buy and forget.
Not quite forget. The emphasis is on having a plan and sticking to it.
Meaning?
Things like investing consistently, maybe through dollar-cost averaging, buying regularly regardless of market highs or lows, and crucially, having the discipline to stay invested during downturns.
Not panic selling when the market dips.
Exactly. The research suggests that trying to time the market is extremely difficult and often counterproductive. Those who stay the course historically tend to benefit most from the long-term growth and compounding. Emotional discipline is key.
Okay, so let's pull this together. What does this all mean for you listening?
Well, we started with that stark number.
Right. Saving 20% of a good income, $100, could take 50 years to hit $1 million, and that's before inflation. A really, really long game.
Very long game.
Then we looked at the pathways that sources highlight for potentially faster wealth creation.
Yeah, starting a business, focusing on building equity.
Investing in real estate, using income and appreciation, often with leverage.
And investing in the stock market, harnessing compound growth, maybe using diversified ETFs.
Each with its own way of working, its own risks, its own potential. Definitely not just about saving.
It really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just how much you save to how that money is put to work. Understanding these different pathways, business, real estate, stocks, lets you make more informed, strategic choices.
Choices that fit your own goals, your timeline, how comfortable you are with different kinds of risk.
Exactly. Knowledge is power here. Understanding the mechanics behind each path is crucial.
Absolutely. So, keeping all that in mind, the slow path of saving versus these more dynamic routes. Here's a final thought for you to chew on. Given these pathways we've discussed, the time frames, the risks, what's one concrete step, just one thing you might consider doing in, say, the next few months to move beyond just saving, to actively put your money to work in a way that truly aligns with where you want to be financially?
That's a great question to ponder.
Something to think about. Do your own research, of course, but consider that first step. Thanks for diving deep with us today.